Hello, BookTube. I'm Alan. Welcome to my channel, and Victober is rapidly drawing to a close. I'll have one more video after this on Wuthering Heights. Want to reread that, and started a few days ago. I'm going to include a link below of me rereading Dorian Gray after decades, a long time, and I read it within 24 hours. I'll link that. And I'm also going to link an article about when Oscar toured America in 1882, that he had more than a tete-a-tete with Walt Whitman, which I never really knew. But there you go. Read the article and see what you think. I had a real visceral experience rereading this, and I'm a big rereader. As a Joycean, I'm constantly dipping into Ulysses and Dubliners now, rereading that for my channel. But I compare it to my Huckleberry Finn. I've read that probably 3 or 4 times within my life, but not with a big chunk of time in between. So I'm having a different experience with this. I like it. I'm very much liking it. I wouldn't have read Dorian Gray if it weren't for Victober. So, thank you. And I remember it differently. I remember Dorian being even more hedonistic. I remember the opium dens, and I'm also going to try not to spoil it, because I believe it or not, I didn't remember the ending exactly, which was curious to me. I didn't know that it was someone else's character with all the aphorisms, and I'm going to read through and edit them real fast. All the aphorisms in here, they're almost like one every other page. I mean, I always remembered like the only way to rid temptation is to yield to it, or the one about I pick my friends for their character, my acquaintances and my enemies for their intelligence, and other ones too. Lord Henry's the twisted one. He's the one with whose mouth most of the aphorisms come out. Time passes very quickly in the novel. It's like, you've heard of show don't tell, right? Well, this tells a lot. In a span of a page. Do you remember? It's been 18 years since Sybil died. Oh, okay. And on page 78 in my Penguin edition, there's a note on time. His eyes darkened. This is the end of a chapter. His eyes darkened, and the crowded, flaring streets became blurred in his eyes. When the cab drew up to the theater, it seemed to him that he had grown years older. Little things like that. Yes, Dorian Gray is also what we call these days a sapiosexual. He gets enamored by intelligence, and not only beauty, and when it's taken away, like when Sybil falls in love with him, and it seems like he's super duper superficial with his denial of her and his walking away from her. And then with Sybil's suicide, the painting begins to grow older, even more so than like the day before. And I don't know if it's a rereading at the time of my life now. I'm getting these feelings, but of like impertinence. It's just sad when he talks about entropy on page 132. It was almost saddened by the reflection of the ruin that time brought on beautiful and wonderful things. He, at any rate, had escaped that. Summer followed summer, and the yellow jonquils bloomed and died many times. And nights of horror repeated the story of their shame. But he was unchanged. No winter marred his face or stained his flower-like bloom. How different it was with material things. Where had they passed to? Where was the great crocus-colored robe on which the gods fought against the giants, that had been worked by grown girls for the pleasure of Athena? And then he gets into some Roman mythology and that. I'm just noticing something. You have to make a note. OMG. Side note, I was experiencing some deja vu there, sincerely, before I read this. And the jonquil bloomed. Jonquil means yellow. I first came across that in Faulkner, right in August. But then I came across it again in Charlotte Bronte's Villette. And it's on my Villette video too. So here it is again. Yellow bloomed. Yellow jonquil. Jonquil. Not new to me. I didn't say I was the smartest pin in the cushion, right? Anyway, where was I? I need to point this out too. I haven't researched it or anything, but the way his portrayal often remarks about Jews in the novel are, well, completely politically incorrect, if not downright anti-Semitic. And I'll point out an example on 49. I mean, I'm not going to bring up something without giving some proof of it. Okay, a hideous Jew in the most amazing waistcoat I ever beheld in my life was standing at the entrance smoking a vile cigar. He had greasy ringlets and an enormous diamond blazed in the center of a soiled shirt. Now that's just the description of it. Hideous Jew smoking a vile cigar, greasy ringlets, diamond blazed, like, money, soiled shirt. And I know there's other examples in here too, but I wasn't reading it with a bent for that, so I don't have them all. This is getting long, and I wanted to read some of the aphorisms first, because they're short, profound aphorisms on almost every other page, alongside long, rich, lush paragraphs. Let me just read 170 or 127. And I just like long, descriptive paragraphs sometimes. Faulkner. There are a few of us who have not sometimes wakened before dawn, either after one of those dreamless nights that make us almost enamored of death, or one of those nights of horror and misshapen joy, when through the chambers of the brain sweep phantoms more terrible than reality itself, an instinct with that vivid life that looks in all grotesques and that lends to Gothic art its enduring vitality. This art being, one might fancy, especially the art of those whose minds have been troubled with malady of revelry. Gradually, white fingers creep through the curtains, and they appear to tremble. And black, fantastic shapes, dumb shadows crawl into the corners of the room and crouch there. Veil after veil, thin, dusky gauze is lifted. By degrees, the forms and colors of things are restored to them, and we watch the dawn remaking the world in its unique pattern. It was the creation of such words as these that seemed to Dorian Gray to be the true object, or amongst the true objects of life. And in his search for sensations that would be at once new and delightful, and possess that element of strangeness that is so essential to romance, he would often adopt certain modes of thought that he knew to be really alien to his nature, abandon himself to their subtle influences, and then, having, as it were, caught their color and satisfied his intellectual curiosity, leave them with that curious indifference that is not okay, blah, blah, blah. I like that last of all is his two selves. He's living these two selves, and he's like lying to himself. That's one of the sad parts for me, or the moral of the story, there's a Faustian morality here, but could it be acceptance of or like gratitude for what we have leads to happiness? Um, but no, you cannot lead two separate lives nor lie to yourself. And how's this for an aphorism? You can lie to others, but you cannot lie to yourself. I just came up with that. No, let me read some quick aphorisms here. I choose my friends for their good looks, my acquaintances for their good characters, and my enemies for their good intellects. You don't feel it now. Someday when you're old and wrinkled and ugly, when thought has seared your forehead with its lines and passion branded your lips with its hideous fires, you will feel it. You will feel it terribly. Will that always be so? Always. That is a dreadful word. It makes me shudder when I hear it. Women are so fond of using it. They spoil every romance by trying to make it last forever. It is a meaningless word, too. The only difference between a caprice and a lifelong passion is that a caprice lasts a little longer. Young men want to be faithful, and they are not. Old men want to be faithless, and cannot. That is all one can say. They say that when good Americans die, they go to Paris. Really? And where do bad Americans go when they die? They go to America. Never marry at all, Dorian. Men marry because they are tired. Women because they are curious. Both are disappointed. My dear boy, no woman is a genius. Women are a decorative sex. They never have anything to say, but they say it charmingly. Women represent the triumph of matter over mind, just as men represent the triumph of mind over morals. My dear boy, the people who love only once in their lives are really the shallow people. What they call their loyalty and their fidelity, I call it the lethargy of custom or the lack of imagination. That's a good one. And I could read on, but this is getting long. So I'll catch you guys on the live Victober tomorrow, hopefully. No, it was merely an illusion wrought on the troubled senses. The horrible night that he had passed had left phantoms behind it. Suddenly there had fallen upon his brain that tiny scarlet speck that makes men mad. The picture had not changed. It was folly to think so. This is a real Gothic novel. You can sink your teeth. I like men who have a future and women who have a past. He answered. Or do you think that would make it a petticoat party? But I like women, or I like men who have a future and women who have a past. Right on, Oscar. I think I'll leave it at that.